Hey, what's going on? Matthew Taman here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this from. I hope that you're having a great day today. I want to talk to you about change. If you're going through a season in your life right now where it seems like a lot of things are changing and you're struggling with it, I want you to watch to the end of this because I want to share with you some valuable insights that will help you to understand this season of change that you're going through. Because this is a time when, a lot of people lose hope when they're going through change, right? You don't know what's coming up next. You're uncertain, you're frustrated, you're discouraged. It's just like, what is going on? But I want to share with you some insights here to help you. So if you are afraid of change, right, there's some people that are terrified of change and they will fight change at all costs. They would do everything in their power to make sure that things don't change. But as you're going to learn, fighting change is not a smart thing to do, right? There are ways you can navigate through that. And I was thinking about this because a lot of things are changing in the world. And I'm sure that in your personal life, whether it's business, as ministry, as family, as relationships, as jobs, opportunities, you're realizing that there's some massive change that is happening in your life. Well, how do you adjust to those changes? What do you do? How do you make the best of it? So before I get into that, let me read you this verse, okay? Malachi 3 says this, "For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed." But that first section says, "For I am the Lord, I change not." It is such a comforting thing to know that we serve a God who doesn't change. It is such a comforting, God never changes. So I don't know what you're going through today. I don't know what changes that you're experiencing in your life today. But I want you to know this, that God doesn't change. As people, we go through this roller coaster. Some days it seems like you're going up, 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 and then you get a phone call. You watch something, you hear something, or something happens that you go from 100 and you back down to 0, you crash. You change just like that. So we're going to talk about stabilizing your emotions, because that's part of dealing with change. But I want to make a key point about change, and this is going to be key for those that are going through a season of change, right? Change when you're in the will of God is different than change when you're outside of the will of God. And I'm going to give you 9 things that happen when you're in the will of God or when you're outside of the will of God and you're going through change, because that makes all the difference. When the world is going through change, it's different from when believers are going through change. Completely different. So the first thing, right, even before I get into my message, the first thing that you have to understand when you're in the will of God or when you're outside the will of God is this. When you're in the will of God, you have the grace of God. When you're not, you deal with unbearable pain. So one of the first things you have to understand about going through change for those that are in the will of God and for those that are outside the will of God, God gives you grace when you're going through change. Man, because you're going to need all the grace that you can get when you're going through times of uncertainty, when you're going through times when it seems like you have no control over your life, when you're going through times when some mornings you wake up and you're like, God, I can't get up to bed today. I don't feel like I can go on today. And you're down, you're discouraged. That is when the grace of God comes in to empower you. That is when the grace of God comes in to lift you up. That is when you need that grace. And that's what we as believers and disciples and followers of the Lord Jesus have, is that during this time of change, we have so much grace that is available to us. So if you're going through that season now, I want you to tap into that grace. Because when you feel like giving up, when you're discouraged, when you've spent the past 1 hour crying because you don't know what's going to happen next, that grace is what's going to be there to lift you up. But when you're not in the will of God, you're dealing with unbearable pain. Look, the pain that comes from being outside the will of God is so devastating. So you see a lot of people out there, they put their selfies, they're putting all these photos, they're smiling, the videos, they're going on vacation, they're doing all these cool things, and they're going through a transition in life and they are stressed. The moment they turn that camera off, they put their phone down, the moment that they're by themselves, the unbearable pain they go through because of this change is heartbreaking for a lot. It's heartbreaking. You'd be surprised how many people don't make it through this seasons of transition. Now, when I say don't make it, sometimes just literal death, right? People just literally can't deal with it anymore. And there are a lot of people that have committed suicide. There are a lot of people that have gone through, massive, intense depression, anxiety, because they're going through a significant change or period of change in their lives, and they have no clue how to adjust to it. That grace of God is not there with them. The grace of God is not available to them. But for you, you can tap into it. So if you feel overwhelmed, tap into that grace. That grace is that extra strength that God gives you. Number 2, when you're in the will of God and you're going through change, you have peace. When you're not, you have stress. Oh, that is so important. Look, if there's one thing that you need in your life every day is peace. Yet if there's one thing that most people lack in their lives, is peace. Peace is not saying that you're not going to have issues that you're dealing with.